Deonna Purrazzo. The latest complaints in the women's division come from one Deonna Purrazzo. AEW has a ton of talent under contract. Some stars not being used at all for months at a time. Deonna Purrazzo was a notable signing for them last year after finding success in TNA, AAA, and Ring of Honor. I mean, this woman was the Kenny Omega of female professional wrestling in the time she was in Impact and TNA. I mean, she was labeled the female belt collector. She was great. She resurrected her career. She came over from NXT, disgruntled over there, to go and have absolutely one of the best runs a woman ever had in Impact Wrestling. And then she joins AEW with great fanfare after all the accomplishments that she did in Impact. And now she's with AEW, and her career has basically fallen off a fucking cliff. Nobody remembers what she did. Nobody cares about her. And her name value is basically next to zero, thanks to Tony Khan. Throughout her time in AEW, she has feuded with the likes of Mariah May, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. In the latter part of 2024, Purrazzo formed an alliance with Taya Valkyrie, known as the Vendetta. You might not even know that. Where can I find this Vendetta? Where can I find them wrestling? On Saturday Night's Collision, where no one else is watching it. Jesse is watching it for you on Wednesday nights, so you don't have to. Fightful Select is reporting. Deonna Purrazzo has been very vocal to management about wanting to be utilized more and utilized better, especially around the Full Gear show in her hometown, which was basically New Jersey. And the only reason why they put her on the pre-show was because they needed to, because it happened in New Jersey. Deonna hasn't wrestled since January 4th's episode of Collision, where she put over Toni Storm. It's unclear when her next match will be. I could tell you when her next match is going to be. Never. It's going to be a very, 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 very long time before you see Deonna Purrazzo in any meaningful way, if ever, on AEW television. You see, the one thing that she's already made a mistake. She's already made a mistake. Tony Khan has got his ear and his eyes everywhere because he knows that there's criticism coming at him at 1,000 miles an hour. Number one, he sees, he hears, he reads. When he sees via Fightful Select and he sees some fucking troll account and some fucking blue check mark who's going to aggregate everything that the big dirt sheets say to get some clicks and some engagement to get pennies on the dollar from Elon. When Tony sees these headlines all over social media, he sees Deonna Purrazzo frustrated with AEW creative, wants to be utilized better. When he sees this, then she goes back into the toy bin, never to be acknowledged again. So she's already committed cardinal sin number one in the eyes of AEW management and in the eyes of Tony Khan. You open your mouth about how frustrated you are not going to be used, and it's not going to help you get on television. That's number one. So she probably did herself dirty by stating that she's frustrated, and now everybody's reporting it, and now Tony's going to see it and probably not have any time for her or want to use her at all. That's number one. Number two, AEW, specifically Tony Khan, are frauds. They do not like women's wrestling. It's not like Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis level of they don't like women's wrestling, because none of them found women's wrestling appealing. The only thing that they wanted as far as their women's wrestling is women wrestling in skimpy outfits or diva searches or fucking, whatever the case may be. Stripper poles and fucking pools of mud for them to wrestle in. That's what they thought of women's wrestling. They didn't give a single iota of a shit about women's wrestling. They were forced to put women's wrestling on in a meaningful way on television, even though they didn't want to. They were forced to create a women's championship and move away from the Divas Championship. They were forced to create women's tag team championships. You see how everything just got ruined because Vince McMahon was forced to do it and he didn't want to do it. He was forced to put women on TV and they didn't really have any meaningful interactions or memorable moments at all on the main roster. He pushed who he wanted. Becky, Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley, Alexa. I mean, he only pushed a good 4 or 5 women which was repeated year over year over year. And those are the people that he went with. Biggest names, merch sellers, they weren't really selling any tickets. They thought that women's wrestling wasn't a draw. Nobody was coming out to see women's wrestling. It was more of a aspect of the show that they could add upon everything else. That's all they thought about. AEW thinks the same way. Now, AEW's got so many different women on this roster. I mean, if you look up and down the women's roster, the names that they are housing in AEW, you look at the names, you could probably say, what the fuck? This division is so uber talented, and they're not even using 9/10 of the fucking division. They push who they want. They put who they want on TV, and that's it. They don't care. They don't care to write meaningful stories. They don't care to put women in more than one segment on a random Dynamite, right? That's why they got Collision. They'll give you one episode where it's one segment or one match for the women's division, then Collision gets one match. They don't really give it. They do it because they're forced to. If AEW doesn't do women's wrestling, then people are going to complain. But people need to start opening their eyes to what exactly is going on. Tony Khan doesn't give a shit about women's wrestling. AEW doesn't give a shit about women's wrestling. They never did. They never did. The point I'm trying to make is the only reason why AEW has a women's division is because they have to, not because they want to. You get ahead in the women's division because of favoritism. You get ahead because of backstage politics. And if Tony decides on any given week to pull you out of the toy chest to be his flavor of the week or flavor of the month, you might get some sporadic TV time like we're seeing right now with Penelope Ford, or have seen with Penelope Ford, and now with Harley Cameron, right? You're a flavor of the week or flavor of the month. Politics, favoritism, and if Tony wants to play with you that month, then you'll get 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks out of it, and then you go back. When was the last time we seen Penelope Ford? Haven't seen Penelope Ford in weeks. What happened? She got a nice, consistent 3 or 4 weeks of television. We all thought that she was coming back, and then nothing happened. Now, Deonna is voicing her frustration. It's not going to happen this way. It's not. Everybody's surprised. Oh, they got Deonna Purrazzo. Where's Deonna Purrazzo? They don't look at Deonna Purrazzo as a draw. They don't look at Deonna Purrazzo as anything more than a fucking name that came over from Impact TNA with all the accolades and all the career fucking statistics that she brought to the table. They signed her. She's making good money. And now she's stuck. And now she's stuck working for a company that has absolutely no use and no desire to use her in a meaningful way on television. Deonna was a means to an end for Toni Storm, and that is it. You think the vendetta is going to get over on AEW television? You think Tony wants to use Deonna and Taya Valkyrie in the vendetta? No. No. It's a sad state of affairs. I'm sorry to be saying this, but if you expect Deonna Purrazzo on television, it's not going to happen. Unless your name is Mercedes, Toni Storm, or Mariah May, that's it. Those are the big three. Those are the big three that are going to get consistent television time. Where's everybody else? Where's Statlander? Where's Willow? Where is Jamie Hayter? What happened to the real Jamie Hayter? Why isn't she getting pushed? Where's Thunder Rosa? Where is Hikaru Shida? Where is Athena? Where are all these women that they have signed? You look up and down this roster, you got some of the most talented women in the entire industry, and you don't even know that they're still employed with the company. It's a sad, sad, sad state of affairs. You don't think that woman, you don't think Deonna Purrazzo is regretting her decision? She thought she was coming on in and she was going to have a continuation of what she built in TNA. Not with Tony Khan. Favoritism and politics go a long way in this company, and Deonna is not a favorite, and she's not playing the right politics. I don't know what went wrong, but clearly women's wrestling is not a priority in AEW unless you're Mercedes Moné, Toni Storm, or Mariah May, and that's basically all that matters. It's sad. And I know a lot of people have been wanting her in a more meaningful role. The fact that she now spoke out about it, I doubt we see Deonna Purrazzo in AEW in a meaningful way. Britt, she's been a problem. She's not going to be on TV. Thunder Rosa outwardly, thanked Pentagon Jr. He debuted on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago. You think we're going to see Thunder Rosa on TV? That's a big no-no. You can't do that. Tony decides what you did or what you're doing is wrong, you're punished for it for an extended period of time. And nobody knows when that punishment is going to be over. So don't expect to see Thunder Rosa back on television either. This is what we're working with, folks. For the pro wrestlers. He doesn't give a shit about anything at all unless it benefits him.